I'm at 2724 Lucas Road in Hammersville, Ohio. We're doing a sanitary lateral inspection for the purchase of a home. Now this is on septic and it's on a crawl space. The bathroom should be probably pretty much right through this door. I don't know, I haven't been inside, but right through this wall here. But what we're going to do is we're going to do as much of the line as we can. It's a pretty short distance between here and the tank, but first thing we're going to do is as we go in, we're going to try to actually go backwards and go upstream back in towards the house, and that way we can take a look at the line underneath the house a little bit. Make sure that that's in good shape. Should all be PVC. This should be hanging, and so this should be able to be adjusted if necessary. There's a bit of a belly. So this is probably the toilet right here. Yeah, where's the drop in for it? But so as I pull back, we'll kind of note that it's like 22 feet. Let's see if we can. I may have to put a standoff on the camera to send it back up and really see how deep that belly is. Bellies aren't uncommon, especially in hanging sewers, because it's probably not completely, it's probably not underground there. Basically, as long as the water is staying intact, there's not a hole in the line. Like this should be fine. I mean, it's just all it has to do is fill up enough to overtake it. As long as basically this side is lower than the high side where you're flushing, is not really much of an issue. I mean, you can see all this stuff is actually coming through. It actually is coming through the line. But I'm going to push out a little bit now. I probably have some stuff on the front of the camera. So it just seems like the line is flat, which is another very common thing with septic lines. And if there's anything in there, and so you can see the line is just really, really flat, because there we are at the tank. So the water level isn't up around the tank, but normally, you want to see if you can get the line pumped anyway. But I'm going to have to go get a standoff for the camera, because this line is just really flat, and so we want to be able to see above that water line. So I'm going to pause the video. I'm going to go get that little piece, and we're going to run the camera back through. Okay, I've got a small standoff on the camera. Hopefully this will help. We're going to go back upstream first. I have a feeling that it's probably still going to be covering the lens, because I can't get a big one in here. So, yeah. You can kind of hear that there is a belly on the line, and so I am going to take a look at this and see if I can see if it's hanging underneath the house, because it may have been included in the whole house inspection, because on the inside it's basically, it looks like the line, so you might be able to, what I'm getting at is you might be able to just get underneath there and lift it, take this belly out. I mean, it shouldn't cause a problem as far as flow. Looks like everything's making its way through, but it is obviously a low spot. So between 24 feet and like 13, I think. So yeah, between 24 feet and 10 feet upstream, there's just a there is a low spot, and so like I said, that may be something I'm going to have to look in the crawl space to find out, you know, how it is. But this may be something that you can just get under there and correct with, you know, just adjusting some hangers and stuff like that, because it probably is hanging in the crawl space, and so should be able to have somebody get in there and kind of lift that. Like I said, it probably isn't causing any issues with flow, but you don't want that belly sitting there, all that water. It's enough to where the whole line is filled, and so it's dropped at least 4 inches. And then downstream here, it's pretty common to have this right in through here, and so this is still pretty heavy here too. Looks like the line just wasn't installed very well. I mean, everything's making its way to the tank, and normally bellies are not a huge issue, because as long as they're holding water, then the water will overtake it and just flow into there. It will, you know, as long as the high end or the upstream side, like the toilet or the fixture, is higher than the tank, the water will make it through, especially with PVC pipe. But I mean, to see, you can see how the whole time I'm running back, see, that's not a bad belly. So the one out there isn't bad, like I can see the whole time, and so this isn't that bad of a belly on the way out. I wouldn't consider it to be drastic. It's worse when you're pushing, because it's kind of plowing up all the water in front of the camera, so obviously on the way out it's creating this wall in front of you. So I'm pushing back out again. I'm kind of going back and forth a few times so you can kind of get a look at it, but you can see how the stuff is still moving forward. See how you can see the whole way out. Yeah, see, so that's not bad on the downstream side. But the upstream side, I mean, it's still very flat. The line's just flat. It's a short distance. It's really flat coming out of the house. But as long as you're only using things too that, as long as you're using it the way you're supposed to, and just using toilet paper, no wet wipe, stuff like that, this will be perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with it. But I'm going to pause the video for a second, and I'm going to try to take a look in the crawl space and kind of see where the upstream side, make sure that that's a hanging sewer, because if it is, that'll help in the ability to kind of just lift it up, and it might be something you want to have done. In most cases though, bellies and PVC don't cause any issue, because the line's slick, it's sealed. You know, if the water was dropping out, obviously you'd have a low spot and the solids would build up in that area. As long as it's holding water, it just overtakes that low spot, and kind of like a siphon, or I mean, you have traps on all your fixtures that are like U's, and basically as long as like for instance on a sink, as long as the sink bowl is higher, as it goes down, goes through that P trap or U, and then comes back out, as long as that line on the other side is lower than the sink bowl itself, everything runs perfectly fine. It runs through that trap, and it's there for a reason. And so same basic principle on these bellies, as long as there's no obstructions, and it's not 50 feet long and all this stuff, and you don't have the water draining out of the line, then it'll just fill up to the point it needs to and overtake it, and all the solids and everything will continue on down. So it's not a big major issue or anything, but if you can correct it, it would be a good idea on the inside to just, you know, lift that spot for that 10 feet or so, because in the middle of it is really the low spot, so you can lift up the middle and it should help get rid of that belly and just make things a lot smoother. So I'm going to pause the video and I'm gonna see if I can peek in the crawl space and get a look at that. Okay, so yeah, it's definitely hanging, and you can see they've somebody put a cinder block underneath it to try to lift it, but basically what needs to happen is somebody needs to just get underneath there, put a pipe hanger and lift that center, because you can almost identify exactly where it is, where the cinder block is kind of underneath it. It's resting, it's bowing down, it's really obvious. And so not a hard fix. All you got to do is lift that up, put a level on it. Essentially, you could probably eyeball it, make sure that the one side's, you know, just, it needs to be supported in the center of that bow. That's all it is. And so just need to have a hanger put in, and that'll correct that issue. On the downstream side of the clean out, in between the clean out and the tank, everything looked good. It's flat, but the water's escaping fine. It's not holding a ton of water. It doesn't really have a low spot. It's just very, very flat, and minor, or the least amount of drop you need. It has to have at least 1/8 of an inch per foot of fall in the line, and this is probably right at that level. That's why there's water. That's why the water's kind of, it's not sitting very deep, but the line itself is flat. It is, you know, downhill overall, but it's just flat enough to where it's holding a little bit of water. But overall, the line is functional and free flowing. Just needs to lift up the spot in the crawl space, and on the outside everything looks good. So not really anything major, just an easily correctable thing with a hanger underneath the crawl space to fix that part of the line. And the tank itself doesn't look too full, but I would obviously ask to have that pumped before taking occupancy either way. It's just kind of, you know, start you off fresh. And hopefully the county would have some records on how well this has been maintained, but everything looks in pretty good shape. So that's going to end the inspection at 2724 Lucas Road in Hammersville, Ohio.